So I moved to Dubai around 2 years ago, and in those 2 years, I have meticulously crafted and optimized how I manage my money while living here in Dubai. So today I will go over everything from my whole philosophy around money, like how I spend money, how I choose how much to invest, everything like this, to how I spend money, like literally which credit cards I use to like maximize the points I'm receiving and everything like this, as well as where I store money to maximize the return on all of my savings, my investments, everything like that. Now let's talk about how I manage my business money here in Dubai. So this part is obviously only going to be relevant if you're a business owner, but generally my structure here is that I have a UAE company that is my main company, and then for some parts of my business I also own a US LLC. The reasoning for that is like slightly complicated. I made a full video on why I have a US LLC, which I will link down below in the description. Basically I have these two companies, and the US LLC is owned by my UAE holding company, and I have a separate bank account for my US LLC, which is a US bank account, and then I have a bank account with WEO business for my business. And the way that works is that any money that is made by the US LLC, I then send as dividends or distributions or however you want to call them from the LLC to my UAE bank account. And the reason I like to use WEO business is, first of all, because it's very easy to set up. You don't need to go to a branch or anything like that. They don't even have branches because it's an online bank, and it allows you to have multi-currency accounts. So whenever I'm sending US dollars, because US dollars is mainly the currency that I earn my money in, there are no fees or whatever attached to it. And then within WEO business, I can exchange my US dollars into UAE dirhams, which I will then pay to myself as a salary, which is a fixed salary that I pay every single month, as well as depending on how much profit I make that month, I will send however much I want to send to myself as dividends at the end of the month. And the reason you want to do it this way is because if you're above the small business threshold where you're having to pay the 9% corporate tax, which by the way, the threshold is 3 million dirhams AED a year in revenue, then you can deduct your salary as an expense. So you do want to have a fixed salary that you're paying for yourself, and it has to be quote unquote reasonable. So it has to be like a market rate salary, which sort of depends on what kind of work you do. You want to speak to an accountant about what is reasonable and things like this. So that is what you can deduct in taxes. For me, this is not super relevant because I don't, or at least I don't expect to earn above the small business threshold, which means that my business is actually exempt from the corporate tax. If you want all the details on how all of that works, I made a separate video on how the UAE corporate tax works, which you can watch down below in the description. And the way I manage my accounting for my UAE business is using Zoho Books because it integrates directly with WEO business. Now it's sometimes a bit glitchy, a bit clunky, but that is what I use. And for a lot of business expenses, I a lot of the time just use my personal credit card and then just account for it in my accounting, because that allows me to still get credit card points, and we'll talk about credit cards in a second, even on business expenses. Because sadly in the UAE, at least with the WEO business account, you cannot get a business credit card, which I would really like to have, but maybe with some other banks you are able to get that. By the way, if you still haven't moved to the UAE and you specifically want to move here as an entrepreneur to set up a business, and you want to have all of your questions answered, and you want the process to be as smooth as possible without having to deal with governments and like banks and all this, then I actually have a team down below that you can book a free call with, where they can explain everything, how everything works, and they can actually just do this entire process for you of setting up your company, getting your visa in the UAE, even setting up your personal bank account, so you don't have to figure any of this out yourself. So if you're interested in that, you can book that free call down below in the description. So now let's talk about my personal finances. And first, let's talk about the bank accounts that I use for my personal use. The first bank I use is called Emirates NBD. It's one of the bigger, more like established banks here in the UAE. I'm about to make a full review on this bank, so subscribe to not miss that. The main reason I use that is because if you pay yourself a salary within Emirates NBD of more than 50,000 AED a month, then you get access to Emirates NBD priority banking, which just gets you additional support. You get some perks like this debit card where you can withdraw cash with no fees when you're abroad, which is really good for me because I spend a lot of time traveling in like Asia and I need cash and something like this. So this has been super helpful. The other reason is for the credit card that I use, which we'll talk about in a second. The second main bank, which is probably my overall favorite bank in the UAE, is called WEO Personal. So for my business, I have WEO Business, and they now have a personal bank account, WEO Personal. This is like the digital bank of the UAE. think like Revolut in the UK or something like that. You essentially manage your entire bank just from your mobile app. You get a great credit card, things like this. But the main reason I have We Are Personal is to hold most of my savings. So any cash savings I have, I hold in We Are Personal. Why? Because they have the best cash savings interest rates out of any bank in the UAE. By the way, if you want to open a We Are Personal account, you can do that with my affiliate link down below in the description and get 100 dirhams for free after you spend at least 100 dirhams on your We Are credit card and get the Plus plan. The next bank I have and I recommend is called First Abu Dhabi Bank. I only really opened it for the credit card they have, which again, we'll talk about in a second. And I've also had ADCB, Abu Dhabi Commercial Bank, but I'm actually about to close it because the experience with this bank has unfortunately actually been very, very bad. The app is very clunky. The support is not that good. They didn't give me all of the welcome benefits that I was supposed to get, and I don't really need it. So I'm actually closing that bank down. But there's a bunch of other banks in the UAE. If you want a full breakdown of all the banks here, I also made a full detailed guide on that specific topic as well, which I will also leave down below in the description. So that's for the banks I use and where I keep my cash. Now let's talk about investing. How do I invest my money in the UAE and how do I think about how much to invest and things like this? Well, the platform I use is called Interactive Brokers. This is the main platform that almost everyone uses in the UAE. There is another one called Sarwa, but I don't recommend it. The fees are just super high. And under the hood, they actually open an Interactive Brokers account for you anyway. You just have a slightly better interface. Don't think it's worth the fees. But Interactive Brokers is basically a US based company that is available for UAE residents. So your money is mainly going to be held in US dollars. So I guess whatever currency you happen to invest in. And if you want to open an Interactive Brokers account, I also have my affiliate link down below that can get you up to $1,000 in free stocks. I mainly invest in the S&P 500, but I've been diversifying a lot recently as well into the Singaporean market, the Saudi Arabian market, some world markets, some bonds, things like this. So the way I will do it is roughly a third or a half of the money I make, I put like directly into Interactive Brokers every single month. And I found that the easiest way to send money to Interactive Brokers in the UAE is via We Are Personal. So you put US dollars in your US dollar account within We Are Personal, which you can open very easily. And then you just wire money to your Interactive Brokers account. For my other investments, I have a small percentage of my net worth in crypto. Some of that is in this platform called OKX, but now actually you can invest in crypto directly within We Are Personal. I made a full video again down below detailing how to do that. So that's another reason, I guess, why I have We Are Personal. In terms of real estate, I haven't invested in any real estate yet, but I do plan to do that in the next few years because the prices to buy here relative to the prices of rent are actually very, very good, at least based on my research. Again, this is not investment advice or anything like that. This is just what I am doing. So that takes care of how I invest in the UAE. Now let's talk about how I spend my money here in the UAE, specifically the credit cards that I use. So they have some pretty good credit cards here. The main one that I use is the Emirates NBD Skywards Infinite Credit Card that basically gets you Emirates points for all the money that you spend. It also automatically gets you silver status with Emirates, which is pretty cool. And when you spend on Emirates flights, you get extra points and things like this. You also get lounge access at airports, free airport transfers in the UAE, which is actually pretty cool. So a lot of travel related benefits, which is really beneficial for me because I travel a lot, especially the past few months. I've been traveling a ton. That is the main card that I use for most of my regular spending. And the next credit card I use is the First Abu Dhabi Bank cashback credit card. Now, this is a very specific purpose because with this card, you get 5% cashback on all groceries. And you also get very good cashback on a couple of other categories. And the third card that I use is the We Are Personal credit card. Now, this one I really like because it just has 2% flat cashback on absolutely everything. For example, with the Emirates NBD card, there's a lot of like asterisk and like things and like certain categories where you're not going to get the points or you're going to get a much reduced rate. So for the things where I'm not going to get the points on the Emirates NBD card, I will use the We Are Personal card, and I will also use the We Are Personal card whenever I'm abroad because you will actually also get the 2% cashback when you're spending abroad, because actually while there is a 2% foreign currency fee on the We Are Personal credit card, you also get the 2% cashback. So essentially with this credit card, you can spend abroad in any currency with absolutely no fees. And what I really like about this card is that the cashback is just directly paid onto your bank account at the end of each month. And also for any transaction, you can see exactly how much cashback you earn and things like this. I don't know what with so many cards, they do it in these cryptic ways where you get these points and then you don't really know know how much each point is worth, and then you have to redeem them, and there's like minimum amounts and things like this. With a personal card, it just makes it very, very easy, which is why I really like. And there's actually one credit card that I use, which is this one, the Priority Banking MBD credit card that only just arrived as I was editing this video, which basically gets me free beach club access, free gym access, and a bunch of nice benefits, and 5% cashback on large transactions over 5,000 dirhams. So this is the system that ensures that my money is allocated in the most efficient way, it is invested in the most efficient way, and that it is spent in the most efficient way. I'm a bit of a nerd when it comes to all of these things, and if you're looking for a full review on banking in the UAE, including how to open an account, like full reviews of all these banks that I talk about, because this was only really an overview, then I recommend you watch this video right here. And if you're looking to move to the UAE and you're looking to understand all the things you need to be aware of when moving here, then I recommend you watch this video right here. And with that, I'll see you in the next one.